We're meeting today to reconvene the City of Fitchburg Board of Review. At this time, everyone should have in front of you the agenda. And our official, I can't read the clock because of the glare. My watch says it's 9 minutes, or 11 minutes after the hour of 9. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. The first item on our agenda after the call to order is approval of minutes of the June 7th meeting. Everybody have a chance to review those? I did see one correction that needed to be made, and that one appeal said that we sustained the assessment when we actually did change it. And one I saw that said the assessment was changed and we sustained it. So we need to go back. I didn't bring the item numbers as I read through them last night, but we do need to make those corrections so that the record is complete and accurate. Did anybody else see any other additions, changes, or corrections that we need to make to the minutes from our last meeting? Hearing none, I will then ask for approval of the minutes of our June 7th meeting as corrected by the clerk. We have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 To make sure that this was recorded officially, Madam Clerk, perhaps we should do a roll call vote to make sure we have a quorum this morning. I mean, I can see we do have it, but just so that it's officially noted in the record.
Chair Couliard,
Here.
Elton Krim Jr.,
Here.
Matt Polda,
Here.
Rich Tate,
Here.
Erica Ryerson. Here. You have a quorum.
And we do have a quorum. Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. And as I look at our agenda, we are looking at commercial appeals this morning. And the first one on our agenda is item 4A. Jama Lamex, I'm not sure exactly.
Sorry to interrupt, but we do have item number 3.
Oh, recommendation, I'm sorry. I skipped number 3. I blame my eyeglasses. I put on a different pair of glasses this morning. Recommendations for personal property account 15-80270, Tingall's Graphic Design LLC. I don't see anybody here representing the property owner.
Mike, in this case, this is a little slightly different than normal. This was discovered after the 5 days after the first meeting of the Board of Review. So the property owner contacted me, Tara Ingalls, concerning her personal property account. And do I need to be sworn in as I state this before I start talking?
If we're going to change a value, yes.
Okay.
Can you raise your right hand and repeat after me? Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and this you do under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do. Amy Mercer, the city assessor.
Please continue.
Okay, so Tara Ingalls contacted me. She first looked at her change of assessment notice, and it was after the board had met, and after the first 2 hours and after the first 5 days of the Board of Review being in session. So I contacted the Department of Revenue to ask them how to handle this. And so they asked that the board has the ability to still make this change. The assessor does not, because I've already signed the affidavit. So it's being brought to the board, to you to look at. The property owner got their change of assessment notice and inquired why it was so low. They said, oh, we have more personal property than that. So I explained that their CPA turned it in with those actual numbers, gave them a copy of it. They talked to the CPA. It turns out there was an error made by the CPA. And so they've submitted a revised personal property form that I will give it is confidential. I made one copy. But if we make this change, the assessed value would end up being $10,200 versus the original assessment of $200. And so we're asking the board to make this change. I can give you a copy so you can just look at the numbers on here. I just want to state the overall assessment change because it is confidential information, and I will need to have this paperwork back right after you decide that because of that. Okay.
So Amy, would you say that this would be a matter of correcting the record?
Yes, I would say it's correcting an error. It will be correcting an error. If we were to find this after the board closed, then there are different statutes that would apply, and the assessor and the clerk could make that correction in the role at that time. So it is just recommended that the board can still make this correction now based off of that actual information that was provided. And there's email correspondence within there, stating the correspondence between the CPA and the property owner. And so it was advised that they did not have to be present and did not have to actually fill out an objection form, only because it is a correction that the board has that right to make.
So as I'm looking at the document you presented, I see an original form and then a corrected form. Is that what we have? I don't see a corrected form.
Correct. The last page of the document is their actual change of assessment notice. Then the 3 sheets of paper preceding that is the actual form that was received on February 4th of 2021
Okay?
for the reported value of $250, which derives at a 95% assessment ratio to $200 of assessed value. Then the pages preceding before that are date stamps July 6, 2021 is what was received with the revised numbers by Burnt CPA for a total of $10,822 reported. Then there's email correspondence that I included for the board to view. And that front sheet is just a snippet out of our CAMA system that shows the assessable full value of the personal property at that $10,822, and then what that assessed value would be when it's ratioed at $10,200. So that I wanted the board to have the actual numbers for what that assessment would change to.
Okay, since I'm the only one that has a copy, I followed along with what the assessor has told us. There's an original form, personal property form, statement of personal property for 2021, and an amended statement of personal property in which we're looking at the change in action today. In using this form, the revised form shows that it follows the standard protocol in which the actual purchase price is used and a depreciation factor is applied against it to arrive at the final numbers as indicated. And that final number is $10,822, which is what's shown on the assessor's summary, and rounded to $10,200. Is that correct?
Doesn't get rounded to 10,200. It's the ratio,
It's a
the
ratio.
assessment ratio of 95%.
Okay,
To take that full depreciated value down to, and ratio it to the assessment ratio for all the other property in the city.
okay. So at the current level of assessment then of 95% is the indicated value of $10,200.
Correct.
And the taxpayer is fully aware of this change because they reached out to you, and that's what the correspondence indicates.
Correct.
And I guess I'm not sure why we can't have a copy of the final statement of assessment, first page, for the record for the board, so that we can have that as a document for the board that shows this is the statement we worked from as our final, in helping us make our final determination. It shows the signatures of the property owner and the accountant, as well as the conclusion of the information presented.
Yes, if
And
the
there's
board,
nothing- and there's nothing confidential on this sheet, as there's no detail behind how the numbers were developed. That being the case, I see no reason that the board can't accept the responsibility for adjusting this assessment, as it seems like all parties have been properly notified. The discussion has been made between the assessor, staff, and the property owner as to the change when it would occur, and it's been brought to the board in the format where we can then review and make a determination as to whether or not proper procedure was followed. Hearing that, do we have a motion to amend this assessment to $10,200 for the personal property account of Tingles Graphic Design, 2939 South Fish Hatchery Road, Fitchburg, Wisconsin?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Let the record note, we'll ask the assessor to provide the clerk of the Board of Review with a copy of this consolidated summary page so that it can then be utilized as part of our record, so that we have a paper trail showing what we relied on in making this determination. Anything else you need to add on this then?
no, thank you.
Okay. I will pass this down to the clerk, and you can obtain it from her after she has the copy that we need for our documentation. Oh. Since I forgot to do it, I'll remind you all, if you haven't, please silence your cell phones. One of those modern technology things I sometimes forget about, it's in my pocket. Okay, going back then to our agenda. We are now at item 4A, hear and deliberate and determine the following objections. And forgive me for mispronouncing, Jama Lamix LLC, 6275 Nesbitt Road, parcel 60909, start again, 6009-073-8511-2. Does everybody have the objection form that was submitted? Are the parties representing the taxpayer here today?
Yes, sir.
And you are, sir? Mike Patel?
Yes, sir. Gary Clevenger, agent on behalf of Mr. Patel.
I'm sorry, you are who? Gary Clevenger?
Yes, sir. Bright Support Services.
Okay, I see your name on here.
Thank you.
Okay, we have your authorization, We're making sure that we have you representing them and that you have official agent form with us. I see that as part of my information in front of me. Before we start, all parties testifying today need to be sworn in. So then ask the clerk to please swear in all the parties. So sir, if you would, I guess I haven't done this on Zoom before, but you have to stand and raise your right hand and state your name for the record. We're also going to swear in the assessor and the assessor staff at the same time.
Okay. If everybody could raise their right hand and repeat after me. Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And this you do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
I do, Amy Mercer, City Assessor. I
For the record, everyone has stated "I do," as well as their names and the department in which they work in.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So in looking at this objection form, this is for a property located at 6275 Nesbitt Road in Fitchburg. It's the Country Inn and Suites Motel. I have a question to start this procedure, sir. This is addressed to the agent. Did you complete this appraisal report personally?
Yes, sir.
So this is your appraisal report?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Before we start, I have some information to read into the record according to our procedures. And while I'm doing that, hopefully everyone will review the objection form to make sure we all have it in front of us in case we do have any questions about it. Chapter 70 of the Wisconsin statutes gives the assessor the presumption of correctness. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has ruled that to overcome the presumption, you need to present sworn oral testimony proving that the assessor has erred in determining the total value under appeal. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has given the Board of Review standards of evidence to guide us as we consider your appeal. The standards are: the best evidence of value is a recent arm's-length sale of the subject property. Next, sales of reasonably comparable property. Then, all other approaches to value, which would include the income approach for income-producing properties and the cost approach on special purpose or unique properties where there is not an active market. At this time, please share any exhibits that you'll be reading into the record. I'm assuming that's the appraisal that we have that's been submitted with your appeal. If there's anything else, please let me know. If you have the appraisal of the property under appeal, the appraiser must be here. That's why I asked you if you prepared it, and be sworn to present oral testimony to the board, for the board to consider. Would you please describe the property briefly for us as you begin your presenting your information? In this case, property owners always go first, or property owners' representatives.
Okay, thank you.
So are you going to be reading your appraisal into the record, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If that's the case, then I'll have the appraisal that's been submitted, dated, I don't see a date on it.
On mine is 5/14/2021.
Okay. Apparently that didn't transfer to our copies. Have this marked as Taxpayers Exhibit 1. Please continue.
And do I have the ability to share screen?
You should, I would think. Yeah. I'm getting a thumbs up from our technical support, yes.
Okay. And so the subject property is a hotel located at 6275 Nesbitt Road in Fitchburg, Wisconsin. The hotel has an assessed value of $5 million. The hotel has 69 rooms. It is a 3-story hotel that was built in 2004. There's a total of 41,280 square feet. And this hotel encompasses 1.704 land acre.
Please continue.
Yes, I'm trying to share screen here, so if you could just confirm that you can see the image.
We can.
Okay. So before I get into the income, I just want to preface with the COVID-19 market impact on U.S. hotels. And actually, I will not put the income data on the screen so that it's protected, but I understand you have this report. Do you have the spreadsheet that is a landscape print spreadsheet that has the numbers for the income and the total present value? Is that something that you have? It would be separate from the report. It was a separate document.
I have a
Sorry,
Amy
page-
might,
I
The
have a
clerk
page-
indicated it's page 3 of the,
It looks like it's part of another report on page 3 of the appraisal, is that, or page 2?
Tracy, it was a separate document.
Separate document,
A
okay.
separate, so it's probably at the back. You have a second document?
yes, it's at the very end of the packet for this.
I'm not sure who numbered the pages. I have a page 13 of 13, which is a spreadsheet.
okay, great. And it has a kind of a yellowish, off-colored column highlighted.
You mean year 2023 is highlighted?
Yes, perfect. Okay. So that is something that I'll refer to in the end, and I just wanted to make sure that you had that. That's not something that I wanted to, the client asked that, taxpayer asked that would remain confidential, obviously from public, so back to, thank you for confirming that. So from 2011 to 2019, the hospitality business, they were booming. They were doing hand over fist. The revenue was increasing year after year. There's no question in denying that. And construction was booming. And as we know, everything came to a halt in 2020 because of the COVID. This graph that you can see, the hotel occupancy, it's by the STR, that's the Smith Travel Report, the leading source of information in the industry. And what you'll see here is actually the red line below is going to show the occupancy by month. But in August of 2020, it cuts off. Now, this report, this was submitted in May to the assessor. So there is some new data out there, but I'm sharing what was submitted at the time of the objection. And so with that, the red line, it's a little misleading. It shows that there's a steady growth in the COVID surge toward the end of 2020, but that slowed, as you know, and recovery and occupancy nationwide didn't take off or increase as we had hoped. One thing I want to point out with the hotel industry, they're not insulated from the impact of COVID like office buildings and your retail stores are going to be, because they're not leased properties. So they were impacted more so than a lot of other commercial taxpayers. In fact, the American Hotel and Lodging Association is quoted as saying the impact of COVID-19 on the travel industry so far has been 9 times that of 9/11. The RevPAR in 2020 was the worst than the 1993 recession, September 11th, and the Great Recession combined. Smith Travel Report. This graph here depicts a 37% occupancy for the week ending in January of 2021. And for folks who are not familiar with the hotel occupancy, an awesome occupancy would be 70%. That would be definitely a benchmark on average occupancy. Average occupancy can be anywhere from 50 to 70% in the hotel industry. The CBRE, this graph here, CBRE is Commercial Real Estate Services, and they're one of the other leading analytic sources for commercial real estate. And like Smith Travel, CBRE was also projecting in 2024 that we can expect a full recovery. Full recovery, what that means is returning to the 2019 income, the occupancy, the average daily rates, the revenue per available room. So the things that were normal in 2019 are expected to be normal again in 2024, which means for the next few years, we're not going to be experiencing normal income, which is why we're looking to the future and not the past on our income information. And this graph here, this is from Lodging Analytics. And they also predicted that hotels will likely not return to pre-virus levels until 2024. Pardon me. There is a group, the Hospitality Valuation Services. They do appraisals for commercial property, and this group did hotels across the U.S. And they valued the hotels, they actually appraised them prior to the pandemic. And of those hotels, there were 140 hotels they valued prior to the pandemic. They had the opportunity to then appraise them again after the pandemic. And so the same properties, and during the pandemic, or after the pandemic, the average decrease in hotel value was anywhere from 13% for an economy scale to 24% or 25% for an upper scale hotel. So from 2017 to 2019, they appraised these hotels. They appraised them again in 2020. And the value you're going to see on average is around a 24% decrease in assessed value or in appraised value. Let me just take down to this graph here. Now, the subject property was appraised at or assessed at $5 million. And the indicated value that you're going to see, first off, the 2020, in search for 2020 sales, I did not find the 2020 sales. I had mentioned that to the assessor. I had not received any information, so I don't know if Amy was able to find any recent sales, comparables. Was that something that did you find any recent sales, Amy?
You're not here to ask the assessor questions at this point.
Oh.
Please present your testimony.
Okay. And so the income approach was then used. And typically, an assessor is going to use a direct capitalization approach. It's simpler, it requires fewer assumptions. And, but there's also a discounted cash flow approach. It's becoming more popular during the COVID times because it takes into consideration changes in occupancy over time. Bear with you. Here is a discounted cash flow analysis. This is an example model. This is not the actual client's model. And so this model was used when the IAAO, the International Assessment Association, they gave a class earlier in the year, and it was titled The Impact of COVID-19 on Hotel and Restaurant Values. And in their model, you'll see here where you take into consideration, so average daily room rate, market occupancy, and the RevPAR. And you could do the available room nights, or if you know the number of rooms. So what we do is we take the first year and take the actual, and then moving forward, when is your recovery year? So if your recovery year is 2024, your average daily room rate, your market occupancy, and your RevPAR should reflect the 2019 numbers, in that that's the pre-pandemic, that's the norm, as we would call it, those numbers. So that would be done in 2024. So in between, you're going to see a growth getting back to the pre-pandemic numbers. And this is a discounted cash flow. So what this gentleman did was, he did assume full recovery in 2024. And he starts off with a 42.6% occupancy in 2020, slowly leases up to pre-pandemic occupancy of 65%. That is in his market, and that was done in 2024. The result in cash flow is then discounted back present day to arrive to a current value. The actual 2019 occupancy information and so if you would look at the actual 2019 occupancy information at the bottom of page 7, well, it's page 7 titled on the report. And you'll see, I won't put that up there. These are actual numbers. But you'll see it starts with number of rooms, 69. Do you have that?
Yes. Of the
And
Board of
so-
Review packet, it's page 20, if anyone's looking for it, of the overall packet.
And so you'll see there the average daily room rate, what it was, the occupancy, and the RevPAR, revenue available per room. And so those numbers there are sort of the benchmark in the discounted cash flow analysis. And if you look at the spreadsheet that I mentioned in the beginning, making sure that you had that, where the 2023 was highlighted, and at the top, the spreadsheet says Country Inn and Suites, Fitchburg, discounted cash flow analysis. You just confirm that we're on that page. I won't put that on for the public. And just let me know when you have that.
We're following along. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. And so what you're going to see is in 2020, we start with the actual 2020 income and expense. There should be somewhere in your report an income and expense or a profit and loss statement for 2020. And the actual information was used in this analysis here. So that first column are true numbers. And then from there, we project to 2021, 2022. And I took a more optimistic approach, following along the lines of HBS, who they're one that believes 2023 could be a full recovery year. So I wanted to take that approach, be a little more aggressive and say we're going to recover in 2023, not 2024. And in doing that, the 2023 numbers, so we started with actual in 2020. 2023, we are targeting to hit the 2019 pre-pandemic numbers. And so then we project a full recovery in 2023. And in fact, the average daily room rate and the RevPAR will exceed the 19 in 2024, will exceed the 19 projected, the 19 actual data. Now, I did get in May 1st, the next page, let's see, it's going to probably be around page 22 for you in that report. You're going to see a 2021 actual average, and you'll see a kind of an Excel layout, and it'll say number of rooms, average daily room rate, and occupancy. And so if you have that, then the actual occupancy I was looking at as of May 1st of 2021, we were at a 20.79% occupancy. And then you can see the daily room rate. So the actual data shown there shows that we were too aggressive maybe on our discounted cash flow analysis. And in fact, so it may be too aggressive in the sense that we're not even hitting the projected numbers that we had hoped to hit in the discounted cash flow. Just wanted to point that out.
Just so we're clear on that chart, this is as of May of this year?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And so I want to go back to, the discounted cash flow. And so for the spreadsheet that you were looking at, for expenses, the way those are projected each year is, so the average hotel expense is anywhere from 75% to 85%. I've actually seen 90%, but 75 to 85 is the average hotel expense. Here we used 75% in this model. And so for each year after the 2020, obviously 2020, the expenses were higher and COVID impacted that. But to be realistic, we used 75% then for 2021, 2022, and moving forward. So those expenses are reflected there. And then for our term cap rate, we took the average cap rate and the tax rate to come up with a term cap rate. Excuse me, lost my document there for a minute. And so our value, our total present value, based off of discounted cash flow, and point out we did take out the miscellaneous income. Just so you know, the 2020 was higher. It's 1% is the actual miscellaneous income. However, in 2020, there was a COVID grant. And so that's why that was higher in 2020 versus the future years. And the total present value is 3 million, indicated value is 3,852,000 $673. And looking back at the HVS report that indicates the percentage and change, actually, if it was a if the hotel was a mid-scale, which I'm going to say this is a mid-scale hotel, we're looking at 18% change in value would have been the average that the HVS experienced over those 140 hotels that they did in the U.S. prior to COVID and after COVID. And our value, if it was at 18%, would be 4.1 million. The discounted cash flow that I present to you today is at 3,852,673. Not too far apart. And so that concludes that, and I would just ask that we respect the taxpayers' financial information and keep confidential.
Fitchburg has an ordinance that requires any information submitted with an objection form to be kept confidential, so you don't have to worry about that. And the way you presented it, with us having copies and not putting it on the screen, I think would cover that responsibility and requirement that you have to your client. Before we continue with the assessor, I have some questions I'd like to ask you. First, are you a certified appraiser?
Yes, sir. Excuse me, I'm not a general appraiser. I'm certified assessor appraiser, level 3.
Explain that again. You're certified what?
Certified assessor appraiser. So I'm not a general appraiser.
So you're a certified assessor?
Yes, sir.
At what level?
Level 3.
Do you have appraisal assessor certification at level 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you know about the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice for the assessment field? Standard 6?
Yes.
I didn't hear your answer.
Yes, sir. I have learned of USPAP.
Okay.
I have been educated on USPAP.
And you know about Standard 6, which reflects on the assessment profession?
I couldn't cite it for you, but
You know it exists, right? So you've seen it and you understand that the assessment profession is covered under the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice under Section 6 or Standard 6 of the guidelines. Do you also realize that under Section 6, it says that the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, USPAP says that the states have the right to create their own method of regulation as long as they comply and are guided by Standard 6? Do you understand that, sir?
yes, sir.
Okay, do you understand that Wisconsin has a Property Assessment Manual, Volume 1, that provides that direction to the assessor?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with that manual?
I am familiar with it.
Okay. Do you know in that manual, when it comes to income-producing property, that it directs the assessor to use direct capitalization rather than yield capitalization? Because in yield capitalization, most of the information that you're using is guessing because there's no hard facts verifying it. That the Wisconsin Supreme Court has actually stated that in income cases presented in front of it, the assessor is required to use actual information. Are you aware of that, sir?
I am now.
So you did not realize that before today?
No, sir. I was under the understanding that I didn't realize, that it was, and if I did, no. My understanding prior to today was that it would have been taken into consideration when I had first spoke with the assessor. I was under the understanding that the information that I could present would be taken into consideration.
It certainly will be considered, but we are considering the fact that almost everything you presented are your estimates of what will happen in the future. I can tell you that since June 25th, when the hotel's been opened up to basic normal occupancy or opportunity, that the hotels have had a booming business. Now, what that's going to mean as we continue into the year 2021, nobody knows, but it's certainly substantial pent-up demand, which is driving business in the hotel industry, and prices are reflecting that. So I just want to make sure you're aware that the standard the assessor follows is somewhat different than the standard that you're presenting, and that's what the board has to consider, is what are the assessment's requirements in preparing and developing their assessed value. Okay, with that on the record, I will then turn over the floor to the assessor, and I'm assuming that both the assessor and the commercial appraiser, Bart Taylor, will be presenting evidence.
Yes.
Please identify yourself for the record, and please begin.
All right. My name is Bart Taylor. I am the commercial assessor for the city of Fitchburg. We've distributed written information summarizing the basis for completing the 2021 assessment of the subject property.
Okay, Bart, let me just interrupt for a second. We've been each board member. Has this been presented to the taxpayer?
It has not. We did not know who would be present and who would not be in person.
Okay. I'm sorry, sir, with you being on Zoom, I do not have an easy way, unless we can put this up on Zoom, to share this with you at this time. Have you talked with the assessor at the open book so that you've basically heard their story?
I did talk with the assessor, but no, I hadn't received there was no indication of where the value was going to be, and what the thoughts were. So this is all going to be new to me.
Okay.
Yes, he does not have the majority of this information.
What I'm going to ask the clerk to do is we're going to take do you have a fax machine option at your office, sir?
Or email.
Or email?
Email, yes.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess so that this document can be emailed to you, so that you'll have it present in front of you as we're going through the assessor's testimony.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so you have the opportunity, you have email that you can open up where you're sitting.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
do we have that email address? Yep. Would you confirm that email address so we send it to the right place, sir?
Gary@brightsupport.net.
Is that what we have?
That's correct, that's what we
Okay.
have.
We have your correct email address. We will be submitting this to you in a matter of a few seconds, hopefully. Please let us know when you receive it, and then we'll open up the board and continue with the assessor's presentation of their determination of the assessed value.
I have potentially one more document, so I'll give it to Tracy to give to him also
Okay.
right now.
Very good.
So move to recess at 10 a.m. to reconvene at 10:05.
We have a motion to to recess for 5 minutes. And have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're recessed for a few minutes to get this document over to the property taxpayer's representative. Service is now functioning. All parties should have the document that was presented by the assessor. It's a multi-page document. We'll mark this as Assessor's Exhibit Number 1. And the pages that it contains will be lettered, starting with letter A. Many of them are double-sided until we get to the last page of the exhibit. Also, a one-page second exhibit was submitted, and all parties should have that as well. We'll mark that as Assessor's Exhibit Number 2. At this point, then, we'll ask the assessor and her staff member to please begin their testimony.
All right, thank you. I'll summarize the written document with oral testimony. On the first page, Section 1 is a summary of my qualifications to complete the assessment. My name is Bart Taylor. I'm employed with the City of Fitchburg Assessor's Office as the commercial appraiser. I have an Assessor 2 certification in the state of Wisconsin, which expires in March of 2024. I've worked in the assessment industry for more than 6 years and in the property valuation industry for more than 20 years. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Finance from California State University, Fresno, and held a certified appraiser's license in California for approximately 12 years. Section 2 states the purpose of the assessment and standards for establishing value. The purpose is to estimate the full value, often referred to as market value, of a property as of January 1st, 2021. Part A outlines the standards for establishing value. Wisconsin State Statute 70.32 outlines that property shall be valued in accord with Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual and at the value that could ordinarily be therefore obtained at private sale, when such sales conform to the definition of recent arm's-length sales. Part B contains a definition of market value, including criteria that a sale must satisfy if it is used in determining market value. Part C is information from the Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual that specifies that mass appraisal is the underlying principle that Wisconsin assessors should be using to value properties in their respective jurisdictions, and that the purpose of mass appraisal is the equitable and efficient appraisal of all property in a jurisdiction for ad valorem tax purposes. It defines mass appraisal as the systematic appraisal of groups of properties as of a given date using standardized procedures and statistical testing. And the manual notes that although similar to single property appraisal or fee appraisals, there are notable differences between the two. And finally, because this is a maintenance assessment role, the estimated level of assessment is approximately 95%. On the next page, you'll find a location map illustrating the subject property's location. The property is located between Nesbitt Road and State Highway 151. The next few pages are the property record card that contains specific data on quantitative and qualitative physical characteristics of the land and improvements for the subject site. To note some of the more significant data, the first page of the property record card shows the property address, 6275 Nesbitt Road in Fitchburg, Dane County. It shows the neighborhood, which is the business cluster neighborhood. This area is located near the Target and Hy-Vee stores. The neighborhood group for the property is commercial. Zoning is PDD-SIP. To define that, Planned Development District Specific Implementation Plan. The school district for the property is 5901, which is the Verona School District. To the right is the land value, at the upper corner for 2021 is $852,000 with an improvement value of $4,148,000, bringing us to the total assessed value of $5 million. The second page of the record card shows the building permit history. There are no recent permits on file. To the right of that is the sales history for the property, the most recent sale being recorded April 17th of 2015 for $5,200,000. This was a valid improved sale. That does include $250,000 of personal property and a real estate value of $4,950,000. Pages 3 and 4 are the notes section for the record card. As indicated on 5/20/2021, there was an open book appointment. This was discussed by the authorized agent earlier. Information that he provided was reviewed. A discussion of the impact of COVID was occurred. There's a discussion of the discounted cash flow analysis and the actual profit and loss standard worksheet was reviewed. A review of how the 2020 assessment was derived. Since this is a maintenance year, the assessment did not change, occurred. The current assessment is based on a 3-year stabilized income and expense report, as well as the 2019 income. 2020 was not stabilized. It was decided that there would be no open book change, and the value was sustained. In August of 2020, there was also a open book appointment, and the property value was reviewed. The income was reviewed at that point as well. On page 4, there is a pertinent note. There was an inspection of the property in March of 2017, a full inspection that looks to be the purpose of which was the completion of the construction. I'm sorry, was the to look at a remodeling of the property, or a partial remodeling of the property, I'm sorry. Looks like the indicated improvements did not require any permits. It was cosmetic in nature, drapes, carpet, furniture, wallpaper removal, and paint. So a bit of a sprucing up at that point. Page 5 shows additional improvements, including the swimming pool and parking lot and paving for the subject property. The swimming pool is approximately 3,600 square feet in area. Concrete paving, asphalt paving, and curb and gutter are cited as well. Page 6 of the record card shows details about the hotel section of the property. It's a Country Inn and Suites, 3-story, 41,280 square foot building, built in 2004. The design use is a limited service hotel, which is different than a full service hotel. Our cost model indicates that the typical life of such a structure is 40 years. The room breakdown shows a total of 69 rentable rooms. Page 7 of the property record card gives a description of some of the construction components, such as the exterior walls, the HVAC. The structure has an elevator with 3 stops and a sprinkler system. There's also a fairly large canopy attached to the front of the hotel, which is 1,488 square feet in area. Page 8 shows the sketch of the main portion of the hotel. Page 9 shows details about the pool enclosure section of the hotel. If you're looking at the photo on this page, the pool enclosure is the 1-story structure to the right in the photo provided. The total area is 3,684 square feet. This was also built in 2004, and our cost model indicates that this type of structure has a typical life of 35 years. The exterior is similar to the construction for the hotel portion. The veneer, stud brick veneer is similar. It also has HVAC and a sprinkler system, and an attached patio, concrete patio of 637 square feet in area. Page 10 has no information on it, but page 11 of the record card shows the sketch for the pool enclosure and the attached concrete patio. The next 2 pages of the document are the market valuation detail. The market valuation detail summarizes the cost model. The property is 1.704 acres in size And valued in that neighborhood, the business cluster neighborhood, this produces a land value of $852,000. The next box gives the market value of the hotel and pool areas. It starts with the replacement cost new, and then adjustments are made for depreciation. It should be noted that this is a replacement cost new, not a reproduction cost. After those calculations are done, the hotel portion value is $3,732,300. The next box going down page 1 of the market valuation detail gives the value of the pool itself. And the same principle is applied, replacement cost new less depreciation for a value added of $65,700. Page 2 of the market valuation detail shows the same calculations for the concrete paving, asphalt paving, and the curb and gutter. These three items together add an additional $20,200 in value. Going down the page, there is a manual valuation because we use the income approach. However, the cost model provides a total value with land and improvements of $4,670,200 in value. As has been noted, typically commercial properties are income producing, so they are valued on an income approach. The next page in the document provides a summary of the income approach to value. Our office model was used to provide a property value via the direct capitalization approach. We were provided 3 years of stabilized income from 2017 to 2019. The first column is 2019.
So this is confidential information that was provided, which you've seen earlier, and we use that information to arrive at this value. So using their actual information on a 1 year, the 1 year actual that was provided for 2020, because that was the revaluation year, that actual income comes to $4,995,553. When you use the 3-year actual average for the 3 years, that value came in at $5,165,893. So right at that $5 million.
Let the record note that the board has a copy of this material. This is confidential data, and it'll be removed after the hearing by the clerk to make sure that it stays confidential. Please continue.
The assessor has set the value using the mass appraisal concept, and we're able to additionally support this value with sales comparables. We've assembled a location map and sales grid showing comparable sales that were determined to represent recent arm's length sales in the local market area. The next page in the document is the location map. The subject is at the bottom left, and the comparables are numbered 1 through 5 towards the top left and top right. Each of the sales included in this sales grid are located in Dane County and located within the local market area. The 6 sales cited are comparable number 1, a Country Inn and Suites located at 400 River Place in Monona. This property sold January 22nd of 2019 for $5,800,000 and has 87 rooms. Comparable number 2 is a Courtyard by Marriott Hotel located at 2502 Crossroads Drive in Madison. This property sold July 25th of 2019 for $13,897,500 and includes 127 rooms. Comparable number 3 is a Fairfield Inn and Suites located at 2702 Crossroads Drive in Madison, also selling on July 25th, 2019 for $12,622,500 and includes 130 rooms. Comparable number 4 is a Hampton Inn located at 4820 Hayes Road in Madison, selling also on July 25th, 2019 for $11,050,000 with 115 rooms. Comparable number 5 is a Staybridge Suites in Madison, Wisconsin, selling on May 31st, 2018 for $9,525,000 with 90 rooms available. And finally, comparable number 6 is a Staybridge Suite, also selling May 31st, 2018. It's located at 7790 Elmwood Avenue, selling May 31st of 2018 for $9,525,000. And if I omitted it, the location or the address for number 5 is 3301 City View Drive in Madison. The subject property has 69 rooms with an assessed per room value of $72,463.77. The 6 comparables cited here have a per room sale price ranging from a low of $66,667 to $109,429. 5 of the 6 sales have a per room sale price exceeding $96,000. The subject property is classified as an upper mid-scale hotel in CoStar. The comparable sales are all either upper mid-scale or classified as upscale hotels. Typically, the difference between the two would be for an upscale hotel having an on-site restaurant of some sort. The subject property was built in 2004. The comparables were built between 1988 and 2009. Locations are all generally similar, considered to be generally similar. The adjusted price per room after applicable adjustments have been made to the comparables creates a range of per room values of $69,000 at the low end of the range to $103,773.91 per room at the high end. 5 of the 6 sales have adjusted price per rooms of $94,000 or more. The subject's adjusted price per room is based on the average of these, which is $93,093.92. With the 69 rooms, this provides a comparable market value via the sales approach method of $6,423,500. The next few pages of the document includes the real estate transfer return for the sale that occurred in 2015. It shows on the first page the seller and current owner, and on the second page, it shows the total value of real estate transferred, $4,950,000, and the personal property value that was excluded from the total value of $250,000. The next page of the document is a sale validation sheet that was completed by the Assessor's Department. It shows that at the time of the sale, the asking price for the property was $5,650,000. It was determined to be an arm's length sale, and that there was financing obtained through the Bank of Sun Prairie in the amount of $4,760,000. In summary, the cost model gives a total value of $4,670,200. The income approach gives a total value for the property of $5 million. The sales comparable approach gives a total value of $6,423,500. And finally, the sale that occurred 6 years ago in 2015 shows the real estate value in that transaction at $4,950,000. Consistent with the Wisconsin Property Assessors Manual, we prepared a mass appraisal assessment using the cost, income, and sales approaches. The mass appraisal assessment is supported and validated after reconciling these values. Thus, the assessed value of $5 million appears to be a fair estimate of the market value of the subject property as of January 1st, 2021. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
We have that, okay. Yep. So there's one additional sheet that we provided to the board. We reviewed the appellant's discounted cash flow analysis, and as stated earlier, assessors typically use a direct cap rate and not discounted cash flow because there's a lot of, unknowns, I guess, in that. I asked my staff just to put this together. This is just a sampling, just random. I said, what is next year's rates per day? What is 1 month out, what is 3 months out, and 6 months out. So we searched the website and we listed each hotel rate that was posted to kind of get if you book a room today versus 6 months out, what is that? As you can see, these are all significantly higher, so I'm not exactly sure how they came up with the $100 as their average rate for the year. But I mean, some of these go as high as a daily rate of over $200. I think the lowest rate I can see on this, actually there is a couple at $99 out in October. There's actually one on here at 1 month out on 8/26 of 2022 for a suite of $550 for a room. So to me, there's a lot of what ifs utilizing that discounted cash flow analysis, and that's why the assessor's office uses that direct cap rate.
In doing this analysis, did you check the current rates at the subject property?
Everything in here is as of yesterday. They went out into the website itself, and on the dates that are listed here, each date, we went into their calendar and listed each room that they have on their website.
This is exclusively for the subject property,
Correct. This is
not the comparables that you used in the market approach.
correct. This is exclusively for Country Inn and Suites. We've compiled the same listing for another property that we will be presenting today also.
Anything else to offer?
Just one more item. I know the appellant discussed a lot pertaining to COVID. The assessor's office, or actually assessors throughout the state, and WAO, which is our professional organization, compiled a lot of questions for the Department of Revenue pertaining to COVID. And so I have a document here, if you would like it. This is actually produced by the Department of Revenue, answering all of the assessor's questions that we compiled. And I'll just read one into record here. So this was a maintenance assessment year, and it says on the top, 2021 property assessment information. The following includes responses to additional assessment-related questions submitted to DOR. Maintenance type, so meaning a maintenance assessment cycle. Number 1, the DOR's guidance in the past has stated that assessors should not make changes for market conditions in maintenance years. Does this mean that we should not make changes for property values affected by the COVID-19 pandemic as of 1/1 of 2021 if we are performing a maintenance assessment in 2021? Bullet point 1, no, the assessor should not change property values affected by COVID-19 in this case. During a maintenance assessment, the assessor should make updates for new construction, demolition, and changes in classification. Bullet point number 2, a maintenance assessment does not update assessments to full value. Example, changes in the real estate market. The Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual and DOR annual assessor meetings describe the required assessment processes by assessment type. See the WPAM, which is acronym for Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual, and pages 4.1 to 4.3 and slides 123 to 145 of the 2020 DOR annual assessors meeting. So there's a whole array of other questions on here, but we did not make adjustments due to COVID based on guidance from the Department of Revenue. No.
No.
Seeing the material that they presented. Do you have any questions for the assessor?
Yes, sir. If I could get the comps, I did the page, the email document, it cuts off when it was scanned after comparison 3, so 4, 5, and 6. The next page, part of the first page of the comps and this next page didn't have anything. It was a blank page. There's a few blank pages in the attachment.
That's,
I could get it.
that's correct, Gary. When I scanned it in, I didn't realize it was a folded over page, so I can resend you the full document,
Thank you.
the
I
full
appreciate
page,
that.
you bet.
And on the comps page, the bottom, it says that the 5% adjustment for each difference except for age difference. Is that, are there any other adjustment notations that I don't see right here?
Are you asking for comparables 4, 5, and 6 that you don't have, or?
Yes, sir. Well, yes. So all adjustments fall under this 5% adjustment, where additional 1% for every 2 years in age.
I believe he's referring to the comment in the bottom, the comparable grid.
Yes, so all of the comparables were adjusted to the subject, whether they were superior or inferior, and then we calculated that overall adjustment. So the number at the bottom is the net adjustment for each of those ratings.
Okay, and had you visited did you happen to visit the site in person this year?
This year, no, but I have stayed there, so I've been in that hotel before.
Okay, I was just curious because one thing that, and I had brought this up when we initially talked, I just was curious if you'd been there because we talked about the additional pictures I had sent with the pool area and some of the various issues they had, the exhaust fan being down for the pool area, the pool heater being out. Basically, the pool was out for at least a year, and then the hot tub having to have been drained for concrete repair and something wrong with the drainage. So I was just curious if you had been there and followed up on some of those concerns, or if any of those concerns were taken into consideration.
Question I'd have, sir, is were those repairs completed as of January 1st of this year?
No, sir.
So it's still that way?
I have not, it's been at least a month, maybe 5 weeks, so I can't confirm if they're still that way, and I will follow up. But when I submitted the report, they were still that way, yes.
Well, that addresses one of the questions I had as to why the depreciation on the swimming pool was at 80% when the rest of the hotel is at 22%. So they submit, according to the assessor's page 1 of 2 on the cost approach, 21 market detail, they significantly reduced the impact on the cost approach of the pool, specifically representing what I would consider almost excess depreciation based on the age of the structure. So I don't know what the assessor has to say about that, but I was going to ask that question myself.
Are you discussing the pool enclosure or the actual pool itself?
I'm looking at your summary of cost,
Oh, okay.
and the cost value comes up at $328,000, and your final value is $65,000. That's 80% depreciation, where the rest of the property was 22%. So there must have been something wrong with the pool building that gave you that significant amount of depreciation.
That is the standard percent depreciation for a pool in average condition for that age of that pool,
Okay?
based on the actual cost approach that, per the manual and the cost data that we receive. So, I mean, that's a year built of 2004, and this is 2021. So you know. Now, you're referring to the actual pool, not the pool enclosure, correct? The pool at the bottom where it's a 60 by 60 swimming
Correct.
pool?
That's
Yes.
correct.
So that's the actual concrete pool itself, which means it's coming to the end of its life. In that, so that condition is included with this. If you look at the record card, there were no permits that were pulled to alert us that there were any issues with this property. So they have no permits pulled out on this property. Otherwise, they would have appeared on the record card, because we pull those in automatically. And then we would have gone to view that if there were permits. And that's why we did not come out.
Okay.
I did ask him that in some of the information he provided, and it was my interpretation from that conversation that it was something that they kind of chose to do due to COVID, to make some of this remodeling during that time.
Okay. Well, that answered my question. Did it answer yours, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anything else you have of the assessor?
No, sir.
Any questions then from the board, or either the assessor or the proper taxpayer's representative? Eldon, they shrunk you and put you way up in the corner, but I can still see you. You can't hide. Did you have?
No, I think the only question that I had was, when would an adjustment for COVID come into play? Like, does that come the next time that they have a non-maintenance review? And I'm not sure what the correct term for that is, but would the COVID adjustments come at that point where you're looking back and the 3 years includes a COVID year?
Well, I think that's a good question. I don't know if we have an answer to it yet. I'll let the assessor give her opinion as to when and what that might happen and look like.
Yeah, so COVID is kind of a, where do we go with this type of thing. It was kind of recommended, if you did not have to do a revaluation, that you do your maintenance year, and that's what we chose to do, because it's not a stabilized market, and we should be using stabilized information. We do intend to revalue for 2022 at this point. Typically, Fitchburg revalues each year, but because 2020 was such an extensive revaluation and lasted so long, we chose to do that maintenance year, and also with COVID, that we thought that was in the best process. So for 2022, we would look at information, and at that point, I focus more right now on the maintenance assessment questions answered than the revaluation. You don't have a copy of this. This is on our website, these answers to these questions, but they do have answers to all of their questions pertaining to what to do in a revaluation year.
Okay, thank you.
I guess that told me nothing. I'm sure it told you the same.
Yeah.
And that, at this point, I don't think we have a definitive answer as to how and what impact this is going to have on the market. I guess the commercial property is going to have some impact because of the work-at-home situation. But as far as people traveling and how it's going to affect the hotel industry, your guess is as good as mine.
We will look at actual income and expense, and we can only highly encourage that the property owners provide that to us. So then we can look at the actual information that they provide, and if we need to make adjustments, we will make adjustments.
I have a question for Gary Clevenger. Mr. Clevenger, given that Wisconsin regulations require that the assessor's office use the direct capitalization approach, do you have any, in reviewing your appeal on behalf of your client, it appears that your appeal is based on the idea that you think they should use a different approach. But since they have to use the direct capitalization approach, do you have any evidence or things to point to suggest that you believe that the direct capitalization approach was not applied correctly?
No, actually, to be fair, I haven't had time to review. I would have loved to have had this information. It's a lot of information prior to today from the assessor. And generally, I would get this. So prior to, that way I could review it. So I haven't really had time to go through this and see if anything flags me. So I do apologize, but I'm literally just trying to catch up on this. And there are, like I said, some missing pages. So no, not at this time. I can't rebuttal without going through this thoroughly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your honesty in that, and it's hard when you have a bunch of stuff dropped on your desk in the last minute to sort through it and find the key points that you need to look at. With that said then, hearing no other questions, we have reached the point where we should go from testimony to deliberation. Unless there's other issues or questions? Hearing none, let's go to deliberations. As we heard the testimony, we had exhibits presented by both the assessor and the taxpayer. And believe it or not, I did pay attention to the training that I had to do this spring. And so I'm looking at currently the summary information that was presented there, sort of as a checklist for us as we go through to make sure that we've considered all the relevant elements of the appeal. And first one naturally is, was there a recent sale of the subject property? Well, the sale took place in 2015. Do we want to consider that a recent sale? In commercial properties, they don't sell like homes where you have an abundance of sales. The fact that it did sell at least gives us an indication as to a point in time. But perfectly honest, I don't think 2015 represents something of what's going on in the market 5 years later. So I do not think we had an approved sale with this property. So not having that, we'd move on to the second part, which were there any reasonably comparable sales? The board found that the assessor had comparable sales, but the property taxpayer didn't present any for us to consider. And again, remembering that the assessor is presumed correct, so we're going through those steps of information and reliability of the information, and we had none to consider. So also on that step of the review, the assessor did not provide any information of recent arm's length sales. The assessor told us that the level of assessment for this year was 95%. That had been properly applied as the assessment didn't change from the year before, and the assessment ratio just reflected the difference in the elements of time. There was sworn oral testimony by all parties, and Ultimately, that testimony focused on the income approach to value. The taxpayer focused on the yield capitalization method, which requires significant forecasting and projections, which are assumptions. And those assumptions are based on his opinion of what's going to happen in the marketplace. He saw this presentation, I believe, from an IAAO, which is a representative group of the assessment community. But I believe that each area of the country, as a former IAAO instructor for commercial property, has different guidelines to consider when they're looking at the impact on their local area. I'm not sure where this seminar was presented, but if it wasn't in the Madison area representing Madison properties, the indications of this seminar may not hold true to this region of the United States and specifically the city of Fitchburg. So yes, it's a credible presentation, but how does it impact your local area was not really presented by the taxpayer's representative in this case. So also the assessor looked at the three approaches to value, showing us that there was a sale in 2015, showing us the cost approach to value, and then finally, because it's an income-producing property, looked at the income approach, following the guidelines in the assessor's manual, using direct capitalization techniques, using a 3-year average to get an indication of what the current value would be as of, in this case, 2020, which carried over into 2021 because it was a maintenance assessment year. So our question then becomes, in making our determination, did the assessor follow proper practice and procedures? The answer to that would be, I believe, yes. And did the taxpayer's evidence prove that the assessor had erred in making the determination? In my opinion, it did not, but I'll open that up for discussion by the board. Erica, would you like to share your opinion on the results of the testimony we heard?
I agree with you that I believe that the City of Fitchburg Assessor's Office followed all guidelines as instructed by the Department of Revenue and the practices that they applied to other commercial properties in this assessment year.
Matt, you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you laid it out well. I mean, the property owner just didn't meet the burden of proof of proving the assessor wrong.
I have a couple comments, but before I say that, I agree. I think that the burden has not been met.
Okay.
My comments, though, just for you have a wrong zip code on page 6 for the property on the property records. And using the price of rooms, I never pay what they list on the internet. Between AARP or AAA or free points and stuff, we've never, I don't think in the last 20 years, have ever paid what's been listed. So, but I do agree with what you were saying.
Okay. Eldon, any comment?
I don't believe they've proven that the assessors did anything wrong. I mean, I think they did raise a question of compassion around COVID. I just don't, there doesn't seem to be any wiggle room on that for right now. So I guess I would just want to say going forward, not this year perhaps, but next year, that somehow the city shows some compassion to the industries that need it with respect to impacts of COVID. But I don't see that there was any errors in what has been done based on what's required.
Okay, hearing everybody's feedback, I would then make a motion that the assessment of the property identified by parcel number 0609-073-8511-2, address 6275 Nesbitt Road in the city of Fitchburg, be maintained at the assessed value as presented by the assessor staff at $5 million. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll
Second.
second it.
A motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Please let the record note it was a unanimous decision. And I'll tell the taxpayer's representative, since you're not here with us, the clerk will be mailing you a notice of determination. On the back of that notice of determination are other avenues of appeal if you want to so consider them. There are several other options that'll be based on either going to circuit court or the Department of Revenue. And certainly you have that opportunity to discuss it with your client, to see what your client would like to do if there's any future avenue of appeal that they would like to take. Thank you for your testimony this morning. At this point then, I will draw this case to a close, and we'll move on to the next case on our schedule.
Thank you.
So next we have item 4B. This is Ravinshaw IR LLC, 2916 Hard Rock Road, parcel number 0609-072-0059-2. And we did receive a request for a waiver on July 19th. And I believe Gary is representing this one as well? No? Is that you? Oh, I'm sorry, Gary, sorry about that. You can come on up to the table, please.
Well, sir, your request for waiver is denied. We're going to hear the hearing, get it done, create a record for the circuit court. This is basically another hotel appeal, just like the last one we went through. We know what the procedure is. We'd like to get them done so we can close our board of review. So are you prepared to present testimony? Well, you should be prepared because you had a scheduled hearing.
Yes, sir.
In the assessor's office, are you prepared to present testimony?
Yes.
All right, let's continue then. Before we continue with the appeal, all parties need to be sworn in. So all people presenting testimony, please rise and raise your right hand, and the clerk will swear you in.
Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and this you do under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
I do, Amy Mercer, City Assessor.
Please state your name for the record.
Gary Kohlenberg.
And sir, why are you appealing or representing this property owner? I have a letter here, but it's not the standard form. Oh, here it is. Authorization agent, okay. We do have your agent authorization, it was just not in the general sequence I'd look for. Before we begin, is there some way we can get the last party off our Zoom call? Looks like he didn't hang up or finish the meeting. Thank you. Before we begin, sir, I'll read the evidence or procedures. You've been sworn in. We need to review briefly the objection form. And we've read the property identification number into the record. Chapter 70 of the Wisconsin statutes gives the assessor the presumption of correctness. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has ruled that to overcome that presumption, you need to present sworn oral testimony proving that the assessor has erred in determining the total value under appeal. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has given the Board of Review standards of evidence to guide us as we consider your appeal. Those standards are: the best evidence of value is a recent arm's-length sale of the subject property. Next, sales of reasonably comparable property. And third, all other approaches to value, which would include the income approach on income-producing properties and the cost approach on special purpose or unique properties where there's not an active market. This time, if you have any exhibits to share, please present them so that they can be read into the record and identified. Let the record note the taxpayer has presented a single page with a property value, a titled property value worksheet. We'll identify this as Taxpayers Exhibit 1. Are you going to be referring to any of the informational sheets that you provided to the assessor's office with your objection form?
I'm not sure what was provided with the objection form. I think it was financial information. Is that correct?
I'm looking through it, and it's basically photographs, building details. It looks to be detailed documentation of the sheets of materials you just, summary of the information. This is a summary of the information it looks like that was included.
Do you mean these 3 documents?
Yeah,
Okay, yes.
okay. Since we have those, let me know which one it is, and we'll mark those as well as exhibits.
Sure. There are 3 supporting documents. The first one is known as 545 West Layton,
Got it?
355 Fox River Drive,
Got it?
7790 Elmwood Avenue.
Okay, so those are 3 additional documents that are included in our packet of materials that we will then mark as taxpayers' exhibits 2, 3, and 4. Please continue.
Thank you. So I just want to confirm protocol. It's my understanding that I present my case, and then the board will ask me questions, the assessor will ask me questions, the assessor presents, board and I ask the assessor questions, and we both have concluding statements. Is that accurate?
Pretty much, yes.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, members of the board, allowing me to present today. My name is Gary Kohlenberg. I am a certified assessor, level 2. I am a CPA. Educational background, bachelor's in finance, master's in accounting, master's in international business, and I've been an assessor for, I don't know, over 10 years. The subject property is 2916 Hard Rock. It's the Staybridge Hotel. I visited the hotel. It's a nice hotel. I had contacted the assessor, and I wanted to speak about the property. And the assessor explained to me that there will be no adjustments made to any property in the city of Fitchburg unless there is new construction, demolition, or change in class. And I asked, well, that's odd. Never heard of that before. And the assessor explained that that came straight from the Department of Revenue. I said, that's odd. Never heard that before. Well, I have a document. And I said, I'd like to see the document. I read it. And I said, that's not what that says. Then I called the man that wrote the document. And I said, City of Fitchburg says they're not going to make any changes because they have your document. He said, well, that's not what the document says. I said, well, that's what they're going to do, and here's their email It says they're not going to make any changes. And then I sent him some more emails from other assessors that said they're not going to make any changes. So it turns out that about 10% of the state is doing what the assessor here is doing, and the other 90% of the state is actually making adjustments, as they have done for many years. It goes back to the State of Wisconsin Constitution. There is nothing unusual about this year because that document was released. There just seems to be confusion. So the assessor made it very clear there are not going to be any changes made. And then I asked for an open records document, and I said, can you show me everybody that contacted you and any changes that were made on other properties? And there were, I didn't bring it with, it doesn't matter. There were over 200. Some had changes, some didn't.
Could you get to the point? I mean, we're here to hear your objection. We have a schedule to keep.
Sure.
Get to the
All right,
point of
there
the
are,
value of the property, not the assessor's procedures, please.
of course. There are 3 properties that are comparable sales. 7790 Elmwood Avenue in Middleton. It was a sale on May 31st, 2018 for $9,525,000, 73,000 square feet, built in 2002, 1.12 acres, 91 rooms. Looking on the summary, you'll see there was a Holiday Inn sold and a Country Inn. Each of these have adjustments made, a location factor was applied, construction adjustment for materials used, sale date, size adjustment, age adjustment, acreage, total adjustments. They are 15% plus, 10% minus, 15% plus, and adjusted they come out to $86, $128 per square foot with an average price per square foot. When you apply the average price per square foot multiplied by the total square foot of the property, it comes out to $8,017,000, and it's overassessed $3,957,000. When you use the same application on a price per room, the property is overassessed $4,395,000. I have nothing else to present. Are there any questions?
I have a question. On the handout that you gave that's also in our packet, I noticed the subject property, the Staybridge property at 2916 Hard Rock. You have it listed as a sale date of 1/1/21. Do you mean that's the assessment date? Or-
Yes, assessment.
Okay.
So if you look at my sheet, it says sale price / assessed.
Sure. I'm
And
just
then-
wondering, was there a sale of the
No.
property? Okay, thank you.
Question I have is you have 3 sales, one up by Appleton, one in the Milwaukee area, and one in Middleton. Why do you think the sales in Appleton and Middleton are comparable to the market in Fitchburg, especially Milwaukee?
Sure. So when I did the analysis, what I do is I look at comparable sales for any given property, no matter what it is, whether it's a hotel or a gas station. First thing I do is I look in the subject municipality for recent sales of a comp property. If I can't find it, what I'll do is I'll go outside to the county. If I can't find it, I'll look at neighboring counties. If I can't find comps there, I go to other counties throughout the state. When I do my analysis, the first thing I do is I look for use. So I go into my database, which shows me everything that has sold in the last 20 years. First thing I do is I pick off use, so it's hotel. Then what I do is I look at sale date. If it's more than 3 years old, I throw it out. Next thing I do is I verify that the sale is a valid sale, making sure that it wasn't a sale between cousins. Then what I do is I look at the price range to make sure that the hotel that sold, perhaps there was one right down the block and it sold for $1 million, you cannot compare that to a $10 or $12 million recent build Staybridge. So I'll throw those out. And I go through and I winnow them down until I get to the very best comps. And these are the very best comps that can be compared with the subject property.
You never answered my question. Why do you feel a comp in Milwaukee, which is a much larger metropolitan market, and Appleton are reasonable comparables for a property in Fitchburg?
Professional judgment.
Okay? Any other questions the board has? Hearing none, then we'll go to the assessor, so she can present, or the assessor and assessor staff can present their case as to how the assessment was established.
For the record, I won't be asking any questions.
Okay. All right, thank you. We've distributed information summarizing the basis for completing the 2021 assessment of the subject property. I'll briefly summarize the written documents with oral testimony. On the first page, section 1 is a summary of my qualifications to complete the assessment.
Just 1 second, Bart. Just as we've done in the past, the handout's been distributed
you.
to all members of the board, as well as the taxpayer's representative. We'll mark these as Assessor's Exhibit 1. It's a multi-page document, so each page of the document will be lettered, starting with letter A through the end of the document, so that we have a representation as to, if we need to, which page you were looking at, okay? Please continue.
All right, thank you. My name is Bart Taylor. I am employed with the City of Fitchburg Assessor's Office as the commercial appraiser. I have an Assessor 2 certification for the state of Wisconsin, which expires in March of 2024. I've worked in the assessment industry for more than 6 years and in the property valuation industry for more than 20 years. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Finance from California State University, Fresno, and held a certified residential appraiser's license in California for approximately 12 years. Section 2 states the purpose of the assessment and standards for establishing value. The purpose is to estimate the full value, often referred to as market value, of a property as of January 1st of 2021. Part A outlines the standards for establishing value. Wisconsin State Statute 70.32 outlines that property shall be valued in accord with the Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual and at the full value, which could ordinarily be obtained, therefore, at private sale, when such sales conform to the definition of recent arm's-length sales. Part B contains a definition of market value, including criteria that a sale must satisfy if it is used in determining market value. Part C is information from the Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual that specifies that mass appraisal is the underlying principle that Wisconsin assessors should be using to value properties in their respective jurisdictions, and that the purpose of mass appraisal is the equitable and efficient appraisal of all property in a jurisdiction for ad valorem tax purposes. It defines mass appraisal as the systematic appraisal of groups of properties as of a given date using standardized procedures and statistical testing. And the manual notes that although similar to single property appraisal or fee appraisals, there are notable differences between the two. Finally, because this is a maintenance assessment role, the estimated level of assessment is approximately 95%. On the next page, you'll find a location map illustrating the subject property's location. It's located in the far west side of the city of Fitchburg, near the Hy-Vee supermarket. The next few pages are the property record card that contains specific data on quantitative and qualitative physical characteristics of the land and improvements for the subject site. To note some of the more significant data, the address of the subject property is 2916 Hard Rock Drive in Fitchburg in Dane County. It is located in the business cluster neighborhood and in the commercial neighborhood group. Zoning is BG, Business General. The school district is 5901, which is the Verona School District. It is also in a TID number 6 for the city of Fitchburg. To the upper right, the land value for the property is $1,264,000. Improvements, $10,711,000 for a total assessed value of $11,975,000. The second page shows the building permit history, which shows the permits pulled for construction, which occurred in 2016, a total of $8,250,000, and construction was completed in September of 2017. To the right of that is the sales history. The vacant land was purchased in June of 2016. It was a valid sale, and the purchase price of the land was $975,250. The sales history, or using the sales history and the permit, it shows that the combined price of the land and permit value in 2016 was $9,225,250. Pages 3 and 4 of the record card are the notes section. On May 21st of 2021, there was an open book appointment. It has been partially discussed at this time already. Information was provided by the authorized agent, reviewed by the assessor's office. It was explained that there would be no change during open book, and the value was sustained. There was additionally, in August of 2020, an open book appointment, at which point income was reviewed and the assessor's office reduced the value of the property, the assessed value of the property at that point, by $3,050,200. Page 4, there was a full inspection in September of 2017. This was to check for completion of construction of the hotel. Page 5 shows the additional site improvements, including the swimming pool and parking, curb and gutter for the building. The swimming pool is 576 square feet in area. Page 6, excuse me, of the record card shows details about the hotel section of the property. It's a Staybridge Hotel, 5 stories with an area of 66,205 square feet. The year built is 2016, and our cost model indicates a typical life for this sort of property, this sort of structure, as 45 years. The room count indicates there are 100 rooms, and the quality of the hotel is good. It was designed as a limited service hotel, which is different than a full service hotel. Page 7 of the record card shows the component descriptions of the exterior walls as predominantly a synthetic stucco exterior. That it has HVAC. It has 1 elevator with 5 stops and a wet sprinkler system. There is a small canopy attached to the front of the hotel of 280 square feet, built at the same time as the rest of the hotel. Page 8 of the record card shows a sketch of the main section of the hotel. Page 9 shows, of the record card, shows information about the pool enclosure section. We do not have a photo of that. It is a 1-story structure, 2,404 square feet in size. also built at the same time as original construction in 2016, and our cost model indicates a typical life of 35 years for this type of structure. Page 10 shows the sketch for the pool enclosure and the concrete patio. The attached patio is 2,519 square feet in area. The following 2 pages are the market valuation detail. The market valuation detail summarizes the cost model. Located in the business cluster neighborhood, this 2.52 acre site is valued at $1,264,000. The box below provides the market value of the hotel and pool. This is a breakdown of the cost for each. It is a replacement cost, not reproduction cost. New, with physical depreciation taken out, the total market value of the hotel is $9,237,100. The additional improvements on page 2 of the market valuation detail describe or show the cost, new, less physical depreciation for the asphalt parking, curb and gutter, and swimming pool for the property. These total to $83,800. There is a manual entry because we used the income approach. The total cost from the model is $10,584,900. Typically, commercial properties are income producing, so they're valued on an income approach. 2020 was a revaluation year, and our office used the direct capitalization approach to develop the assessed value. During the 2020 open book period, the office reviewed additional information from the owner's agent at that time. This information was used to reconcile and to develop the current value. The next page in the document provides a summary of the income and expense from which the additional, including the additional information that was received to determine a market value via the income approach.
Yes, this is, the information we receive is confidential information. So you have a document in front of you summarizing that information, driving that total value for the property using this process. Using the actual method that we did was $11,977,400.
I have a quick question. I don't see the taxpayer's agent reviewing the information with us. You do have a copy, sir?
I do.
Okay, you just don't want to look at it, or? you've
I
already
looked
seen
at it. I read it.
Okay. Just didn't want you to say, have an opportunity for questions, and just wanted to make sure if you had some questions, you could refer to a specific page.
I have no questions.
Okay, please continue.
Thank you. The assessor has set the value using the mass appraisal concept, and we're able to additionally support this value with sales comparables. We've put together a location map and sales grid showing comparable sales that were determined to represent recent arm's length sales in the local market area. The next page should be a comparable, a location map showing the subject and the comparable sales that were used. The subject is towards the bottom left. The comparables are along the highways, top left, bottom right, top right. A sales grid utilizing 5 sales was completed. The 5 sales, I'll read the addresses, were at 2502 Crossroads Drive in Madison, 2702 Crossroads Drive in Madison, 4820 Hayes Road in Madison, 3301 City View Drive in Madison, and 7790 Elmwood Drive in Middleton. All are located within the Dane County area in what would be considered the local market area. Each sold between May 31st and July 25th of 2019. The sale prices range from $9,525,000 to $13,897,500. The subject is a 100-room hotel assessed at a per-room price of $119,750. The comparables range in size from 90 to 130 rooms, with the sale prices per room ranging from $96,087 to $109,429. Each of the comparables is cited as either an upscale, classified as either an upscale or upper mid-scale hotel. The subject is cited as an upscale hotel. After completing adjustments as applicable to the sale price per room for each of the comparables, the range of value there goes from $115,058.94 on the low end of the range to a high of $123,952.17. The average of these figures for the adjusted price per room for the subject property becomes $118,826.10 per room. With 100 rooms, the comparable market value obtained by the sales approach method is $11,882,600.
I would like to interject one item there. If you do, in our comparable sales grid, our comparable 6 is one of the same comparables that the appellant has presented, his comp 1. On his sheet that he presented, his adjusted room value came in at $120,371, which, when we calculated our adjusted room value for that same hotel, comes in at $117,230. So the appellant on his comparable on that property, which is in Dane County and in our local market, is, representative. The other two comparables that he presented, Comp 2 and Comp 3, give a range of $51,000 to $55,000. So, over half of what a hotel per room rate comes within this Dane County area.
I'm assuming, I'm assuming you misspoke, and I only have 5 comps. You said comp 6, if I heard you correctly?
I'm sorry, Comp 5.
Okay.
I apologize. My eyes aren't what they were once.
I hear you. I'm looking at what the point you just made. Your point is price per room. His price is per square foot.
He has both, but on the bottom left, his Comp 1, where he came to an adjusted room
Okay, down
per
below.
room, the same comparable is basically arriving at the same comparable value, as we derived here. But his other Comp 2 and 3, that's why we do not consider those reasonably comparable comparables for our local market, because their adjusted room value, one, they're not within our local market, and that room rate is definitely showing us that that is not within our local market also.
Okay.
It's not what our 5 comparables are very tight. They're all in that range, of approximately 100 and, in that range of 118, 120 per room.
I'm also seeing on your information sheet, the subject property has a movie theater, indoor pool, typical, basketball court,
Correct. The movie
and
theater.
banquet space.
Yes, the movie theater, the movie, our subject has a movie theater, indoor pool, basketball court, fitness center, banquet space, rooms with full kitchens. It's considered an upscale in that category, per CoStar is how they define it. And you can see that three of our comps, Comp 1, 4, and 5, are all upscale. They have the similar amenities, except those do not have the movie theater. They also don't have the basketball court. And that's why we gave our subject a very good rating, those a good rating, and then the two that are upper mid-scale, we gave them an average when we made our adjustments, because the two average do not have like an on-site dining. Either they have, those that are upscale tend to have either full kitchens in them or an on-site dining. So we made that adjustment for those within our market. And those Comp 1, 4, and 5, if you look at those adjusted room rates, they range from one is at 122,013.48 per room. Comp 4 comes in at 119,062.50, and Comp 5 comes in at 117,230 when they're adjusted. So our assessment is coming in at 119, right within that range of what all of these sales are showing us.
So 2020 was a revaluation year, 2021 a maintenance year. The revaluation income approach statement that you've provided, was this information provided by the taxpayer?
Correct. So that information on that was revised during the 2020 open book. Perry Nell was our commercial appraiser at that time, and he met with the representative agent at that time for this owner, one of the law firms, and they provided the actual income. They actually went back and forth because some of the information was not correct at the beginning. So, there's correspondence back and forth as I read through the records. I can only say what I can read. I was not the one who set that. But it was derived at that and reconciled to that value that we currently have on it based on all of that information that the appellant's agent for 2020 provided to us at that time.
So the 2020 revaluation income approach calculation that you're showing is based on income data from 2019? Is that?
Correct. I'll let Bart continue so he can kind of finish the speech, and we make sure we get everything on record.
Please continue.
The next few pages of the document includes the real estate transfer return for the vacant land sale that occurred in 2016. Shows the seller and current owner on the first page. On the reverse side, it shows the total value of the real estate transferred, $975,250. And I believe the last page in the document is a uniform permit application. If you go shortly down the left side, it has the estimated costs for labor and material and a breakdown of the different amounts for the different components with a total permit application cost of $8,250,000. To summarize, the cost model gives us a total value of $10,584,900 for the property. The income approach gives a total value of $11,975,000. The comparable sales comparable approach gives a total value of $11,882,600. And we've prepared this report consistent with the Wisconsin Property Assessors Manual. It's been prepared as a mass appraisal assessment using the cost, income, and sales approaches. The mass appraisal assessment is supported and validated after reconciling these values. Therefore, the assessed value of $11,975,000 is considered to be a fair estimate of the market value of the subject property as of January 1st of 2020. Thank you.
Do you have any questions of the assessor or the assessor staff?
No, sir.
The assessor, do you have any questions of the taxpayer's representative?
No, sir.
To the board, any questions for either the taxpayer or the assessor staff in this case?
None from me.
I have one for the taxpayer's representative. Did you physically view the comps that you selected in this appraisal so that you could determine the comparability of them personally?
Just a moment, please. I believe I've seen 545 Layton Avenue.
You believe you have, but you're not sure?
I represent a lot of hotels. I believe my client owns that hotel, but I'm not certain.
Okay. Thank you. Questions from the board? Nothing else? If not, then we'll move into deliberation. Rules of evidence tell us sale of subject. At this point, we've heard from both the assessor's representative and the taxpayer's representative. There's not a current sale, arm's length sale of the subject property, which then moves us into sales of reasonably comparable property. The subject property is a motel income-producing property. Both the assessor and the taxpayer's representatives provided comparable sales. The assessor relied on income production as the basis of their determination. They went through a detailed analysis of how they got it based on actual information provided by the taxpayer or the taxpayer's representative in a prior year. But they also represented sales in the local market of hotel properties that are, in their opinion, comparable in the features that are located in the subject property. The taxpayer's representative also presented sales, 3 sales of hotels, indicating that the information he had indicated a significantly lower value for the subject property, including one of the comparable sales that was used by the assessor in their analysis, 2 other sales that are, in my opinion, outside the local market area. Based on the information presented, the question we have to ask ourselves is, did the taxpayer's representative meet the burden of proof showing that the assessor's information and determination of value for this property has been overturned? In my analysis and review of the information that was presented, I find that the taxpayer's representative presented information that's credible, but unfortunately not the best information to help determine the property value of a motel in Fitchburg, Wisconsin. Milwaukee is a much larger metropolitan market. Hotels in the Milwaukee area have a much larger base, a population base to draw clients from, much different than what you would find in Fitchburg. And I can't say that when I've ever looked for a hotel that I had to look to Milwaukee to find a hotel in the Madison market. Same thing with Appleton. Grand Chute is a suburb of Appleton, just outside the city limits. Again, I've been to Appleton many times. It's a very nice community, but it does not compare. The city's a fraction of the size of the city of Madison and Fitchburg when you look at the hotel market in this area. So in my opinion, those 2 comps are really not good comps. With his 3rd comp, the assessor had it in their appraisal as well, showed us that the information the taxpayer had does not correlate with the information they've determined in analysis of the sale. And there was no evidence provided showing that the assessor's analysis was incorrect. So based on that analysis, or my analysis, it's my opinion that the taxpayer has not overcome the burden of proof and that the assessor's value of $9,975,000 as developed by the income approach should be sustained as presented. I'll now open it to the board for a second or additional discussion.
I think we need 11 million.
Did I say corrected value? $11,975,000 Members of the board, please speak up.
Well, are we past the time of questions at the assessor's office?
No, you can still ask them a question. We can backtrack a little bit.
So, I understand the use of the income approach in 2020 for the revaluation year. I understand keeping 2021 as a maintenance year, although I can see where that's kind of the basis of some of the objections. I also understand that the fair market value is being used to support the income valuation, but I am wondering how a comparable fair market value of 11.8 million supports the income valuation of 11.9 million. Is there a formula at work there that I'm not aware of, or?
So are you saying because, can you hand me that, Nick? I want to make sure I'm looking at what you're referring to. Just hand me that.
Specifically, the sales comparison page even lists out that you've got the estimated fair market value of 11.9 and comparable fair market value of 11.8. And
Yep, so we are within, what is the difference there? 11,975. Oop. So that's 92,400 difference, correct?
sure.
Is that what you're asking? So what we're saying is, we're looking at, we set our value using a mass appraisal approach. Commercial properties are typically income producing, all right? So we typically do those on a direct cap rate to set that value based on income, because you don't always have sales. And we also don't do a single appraisal. We do a mass appraisal. So when we come before the board, then we will create a sales grid to make sure we're supporting that value. So what you're saying is that the sales comparable is slightly less when it's reconciled to this value.
Sure, I'm wondering what the threshold is for supporting the
Correct.
valuation that you.
So in my mind, let me just take the average of each of these three. The one, sorry, my vision is not what it once was. 118,826 is what we just use as the average for the 5 comparables. So if you take that times the room count, that's how we arrived at the comparable market value. And that's using all 5 comps. We did not add any extra weight to that. If you were to pick 3 different comps, I'm not sure how this even works. I'm doing this on the fly. So if I picked the 3 comps that were all upscale, then I'd have 117,230 plus 119.062.5 plus 122,013.48. Divide that by 3. Whoop, I didn't put something in, right?
You use a decimal.
So if I use the 3 upscale comps, then that value comes in at 119,435. So we're making adjustments, but in my mind, it's my opinion that all of these comps support that. That range is right at the same range as our assessment. Per our room rate, we have 2 comps that are over our assessment, 1 comp that comes in just under our assessment, and the other 2 come in slightly under. So the 5 comparables are in the range of what that room rate is per night.
Okay, so part part of the challenge here is that you give someone a little bit of information and they become dangerous.
Nope, that's
Probably
okay.
what's happening here.
Each room, in my mind, the lowest room is coming in at $115 a night. The highest room is coming in at $123 per night, per room, right? Per room.
Sales price per room.
Sales price per room, yes. So, I mean, you're within $8 per room of where that value is based on those sales.
Sure, those calculations make sense. I think what I'm thinking, and I do understand that the valuation is based on income and that this is just how, is the income approach supported by the market? And looking at the market approach for the previous property that we deliberated about, the market approach kind of overwhelmingly supported your assessment, that the income approach assessment was lower than the comp value by a great deal. And in this case, it's slightly lower, so I guess I was wondering what your threshold was for considering the income approach valuation supported by the market data. Is there a percentage? Is there a
It's
ballpark?
It's an opinion of value.
Okay.
I guess would be my answer to that.
Okay.
We have comps that are over what our room is, and we have comps that come in just under.
Sure.
So nothing is an outlier, like, in my opinion, what the appellant provided.
Right.
When he used the same comp as comp 5, that is our lowest of those that are upscale, he came in at 120 per room when he made that adjustment versus our 117. If you were to use his adjustment at 120, plus our other two upscale rooms at 119, 122, that would actually push it over. So it is an opinion, it is an assessor's or an appraiser's opinion as to how you make those adjustments.
Yeah, and his adjustment percentage was different.
Correct. So it's an opinion of how you come up with those adjustments. We do as much as we can with science and facts, and then there are those opinions of how you make those adjustments.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Okay. I believe I had my presentation, which is basically to sustain the assessment. Do I have a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to sustain the assessment at $11,975,000. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, please let the record note it's a unanimous decision. We'll also let the taxpayer's representative know that before you leave, the clerk will give you the notice of determination. On the back of that notice of determination are other avenues of appeal. If you feel so interested in appealing to a different level of the court or to the Department of Revenue, it describes basically what you need to get that process started. Thank you for your attendance today, and at this point, we will move on then on our agenda.
These are duplicates, showing the property, showing you, telling you what it was originally assessed at, the final assessment. So I could have you sign and date both copies. One copy is for you, and one is for us. The customer appeals process is done.
Let the record note that notice of determination has been presented to the taxpayer's agent, and a request has been made for a 10-minute recess so that we can stretch and move around the facility and possibly come back recharged for our next appeal. So I'll declare the hearing or the board in recess for 10 minutes. My watch says it's 11:46, so we'll come back at 11:56. Thank you. Parcel 609031-1222-3. No address given. 3085 Fish Hatchery Road, parcel numbers multiple, 609031-5112-8 and 0609-031-5213-6. And then another parcel at 2950 Bowman parcel, parcel number 0609-031-7006-3. We all should have their objection forms in front of us. The first parcel identified as an improved parcel assessed at $652,000. Turn the page here. The second one is an improved parcel valued at $677,000. Wait a minute, incorrect. I'm looking at A2 instead of A1 as they're identified. Okay. Where's A3? Oh, still in my pile. Parcel A3 is also an improved parcel valued at $662,000. Well, I don't know if it's improved. The value is $662,000.
Actually, Mike, that property, oh, never mind, sorry.
So just to be clear, we have Bowman Farms appealing multiple parcels and requesting a waiver. Is there a representative here today?
I am. My name is Attorney Carla Nettleton.
Okay. Carl Nettleton, I see your name on our authorized agent list. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Carla, after talking to our city attorney and seeing the appeals at our last Board of Review meeting, I had some questions about the information that was presented on them and its accuracy. And the attorney has given me several options. The option that I'm leaning towards taking, and I'll open it up for the board, to the board for discussion, is that we have evidence showing that the information provided is not accurate. And a not accurate objection form is considered not an objection form, and that we are going to, and potentially could, deny your request for appeal. I realized last year when we looked at this, we didn't catch that. And actually, I think we made a mistake. We're not going to make the same mistake again without discussing it to determine what direction the board should go. The attorney gave me two options. One, which is our typical approach, is that an approach we followed last year when we had incorrect or incomplete information on the objection form, is we do not accept the appeal and turn it away. The other option she gave me was that we could provide that information to you, that we are not accepting the objection form, and give you several hours or days, if determined, to have it file an amended objection form so that we have correct information in front of us. My feeling is at this point, you've had 6 weeks since our last meeting of the Board of Review. You certainly could have provided the corrected information between now and then, and we do not have it. So I'm not making this decision on my own, but I'd like to open it up to the board as we look at this. Specifically, what they are stating is that in line Section 4, line B. Within the past 10 years, did you change this property? And they putting in, any improvements are on file with the city as building permits, so they checked the box or filled the box as no. Well, we are a quasi-judicial body. We are not part of the city. We do not have access to city records and data. There's taxpayers' responsibility to provide that data so that we can review the objection, hear the testimony, sworn oral testimony, and make an informed decision. It's not our part to have to go and dig out information that the taxpayers should have provided, and as such, I feel that the objection form is incomplete. Even though all the boxes are checked, the information that's provided is not accurate and correct. So hearing that, I'm going to open it up for discussion to the board as to whether or not we even want to consider these appeals.
So I agree that it would be difficult for us to consider appeals if no further evidence was being provided to support the contention. But with the request for continuation of waiver, are we required to consider the appeal to determine whether or not to grant the waiver?
Yes, all appeals have to come through the Board of Review first. It's our discretion as to whether or not we grant the waiver, because an appeal can only take place after the Board of Review process has been completed.
So,
unless we agree to the waiver, then it can go directly to court.
got it. But if we sustain the assessment, then the appeal can continue as well.
Yes.
Okay.
The question was if we sustain the appeal or deny the objection. Oh, actually, no. If we deny the objection, the appeal's done. It stops, well, there's other appeal avenues under different statutes, but not under 7047 of the Wisconsin statutes. So they still have appeal rights, it's just under a different venue.
Mike, may I add a few notes concerning the objection forms
Certainly, we'll give
of
both,
other items
both you and the attorney representing the taxpayer the same opportunity.
I need to swear people in if we're going to have any
Oh,
discussion
okay.
on this outside of the board discussion, please.
People need to be sworn in.
I think we should.
Everybody, please raise your right hand. The clerk will swear you in.
Okay. Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you shall give in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And this you do under pains and penalties of perjury. And this is just to make sure that if there's any discussion going on by the assessing department and or the appellant, that you are sworn in under oath.
I do. Amy Mercer, City Assessor.
I do. Carla Nettleton, attorney for the petitioner.
Thank you. Amy, if you have some information you'd like to include?
Yes. So on all four of these forms, there were various items that I believe are misrepresented, I guess would say. So on the objection form of 0609 031 12223, my notes state that the sale info. Sale listed was a quitclaim deed between BFD Inc. and To Bowman Enterprises, To Bowman Farms. They stated that it was not listed for sale, and it is currently on the market. It's listed for sale, and you can find that out on LoopNet. There's a sign on the property, et cetera. Parcel 0609 031 7003. Basically, that's the same. That's also being listed out on the market. And one of those properties, actually, there's documents going through the city for like a pre-approval for potential development. So there is a potential sale on record for Lot 22. And then the other two parcels, the 031 5112 and the 0315213. Those are assessed together. So the actual objection form that I have, they listed that the assessment was $677,700. They are assessed together, so that actual assessment is $871,600. Listed under appraisal info, we believe that there was an appraisal completed because the owner had stated he was having properties appraised for estate planning. So I believe there may be additional information that we don't have also. But there were various items on these objection forms that were not completed what I consider correctly or accurately.
So what you're telling the board is that from your review of the parcels and preparing for appeal, you found additional information that should have been on the objection forms that was not.
Correct.
Attorney Nettleton, do you have anything to comment on?
I do. My first question is a clarification question. You indicated that on June 6th, these items were brought before the board. We never received notice that there was an issue with the objection forms, as far as I can tell. I will caveat with that I'm filling in for an attorney who is currently out of town at a funeral, so that's why it's a clarifying question. Could you please provide me with the notice that was given to us that these objection forms were incorrect?
At this point, there was no specific notice. It was just noted as the board reviewed under statute the objection forms that were submitted. And I believe your other representative was here at that time, and I don't remember the specifics if he was or not, to be perfectly honest.
No, I don't believe he was here at that time.
Okay.
He was here last year with the conversation about how the forms were incomplete last year for 2020, but he was not here at the first date of the board of review meeting.
Okay. I guess we had background showing that the documentation submitted appeared to be incomplete or inaccurate, and that was then discussed informally after the board had, let me restate that. It was discussed with our attorney after the board had adjourned to a later date so that we could look at the information and determine whether or not we needed to proceed with these appeals. And I am specifically stating that the objections are inaccurate because of any improvement on file with the city as building permits. As I stated, we are a quasi-judicial group. We do not have access to city records, and as such, you should not expect us to go and dig into city files to find information so you can file an objection form and have it complete and accurate. Recognizing you would not do this if a case went to court, you're not going to do it when it comes to the board of review. That is the specific concern as to why we're looking at this waiver and trying to determine whether or not the waiver should be granted.
I understand your concern. Not having notice of this being an issue, I obviously don't have documentation with me today to be able to answer those specific questions. It sounds like there are also other issues and concerns with the objection forms. Again, without having notice of this, I'm not prepared today to provide you with specific information. However, as you indicated, there's two options. We could, in the next couple of hours, while the Board of Review is still in session, attempt to correct these forms and provide you with the accurate information. Otherwise, as you indicated, the board has a second option, which is to, dismiss the objection.
That's why I brought it to the board, so that we could discuss it and determine which way we want to go based on the advice that we've received from our city attorney.
So considering we have other business to review and decide on, I think we could set I'm of the opinion that we could set a period of time under which these forms could be corrected. If it was like within the next half hour or within the next hour or something like that, we can only be in this room for so long, so.
Well, I think one other element that we have to recognize is there are other Bowman Farm property appeals, and we might be looking at the same issue with those as well.
Got it. I see the review of subpoena for item 6C.
Can the assessor speak to whether she has any issues with the objection form for item 6C?
I'm sorry, please repeat.
Would the assessor be able to discuss whether she has any concerns of the objection form for item 6C,
For item 6.
for the fourth property?
So would you like me to talk about that now, or do you want to adjust the agenda and move that upward?
I'm more thinking it would be strictly to speak to whether or not if we decide as a board to grant the representative an opportunity to amend the forms, to make corrections to the forms, is there potentially any corrections needed to the form under 6C?
So on,
See, as I have it in my hand, it has exactly the same information. Says any improvements are on file with the city as building permits.
correct. And on that parcel in particular, the sale, under the sale info, my notes say sale listed was an acquisition by the city by right-of-way. So they listed it they listed a sale that the city acquired part of that as right-of-way when it was actually not a sale of the main property.
So you're saying this was a sale under eminent domain?
Through the Fish Hatchery Road right-of-way project with the new Fish Hatchery Road. So part of that land was acquired as part of that project on that one. I also have a note that did not list the permits, which there are 13 permits for multiple renovations to Pancake Cafe, gas stations, dates of change or costs. Under listed for sale, there was a sale of the convenience store business market that we would like to know more information. We requested subpoena information on that property, and that's another item that we received some information by the 24th. We received some additional information on, I believe it's July 9th, and then we received another appraisal on July 20th that had much of the information in that appraisal redacted. And so a lot of the subpoenaed information is not really fulfilling that. My notes on that. That is a parcel, though, that in that particular case, we only had partial submission, and the property also appears that it may be in transition, is one of my notes, because the convenience store that has multiple units. And I don't want to go into detail on that because we're not hearing the case, but on that, we were going to ask the board to consider potentially a supplemental written subpoena and also possibly a supplemental in-person subpoena to actually subpoena in person the property owner or his accountant, because much of the information we received is not reconciling on that. So one document at one time says one thing, a different document. So everything that we received is extremely muddy on that property and not clear.
Okay. We'll get back to the board's determination. We've had a suggestion that we allow the taxpayer's representative a reasonable period of time so that we can move on to other business and give them a chance to gather the correct data and submit an amended objection form. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm just not sure how they, just given their previous actions, that they wouldn't have known that there was issues. So I don't know, I could be inclined to reject.
What does Elton think?
Eldon, what do you feel?
I'm kind of feeling like there is a pattern of trying to obfuscate information. So I'm not inclined to offer any extra time at all at this point.
Okay,
So I would say no.
that's my feeling at this point as well, and that, as I said, we are not required to go and shouldn't be, to dig into the assessor's data or city planning data to find information pertinent to their appeal. It should be provided with the appeal. So at this point, I would ascertain a motion from the board that the waivers for the properties submitted by Bowman Property, agenda item 5A1, 5A2, and 5A3, along with 6C, which complete on the form that they've submitted, state that the city has building permits on file, that the assessors, let me read it exactly. Any improvements are on file with the city as building permits. That information should have been clearly provided as part of the objection, and we are not required to go digging for it, and as such, the appeal is incomplete and should not be considered by the board. So that is the motion I have for the board based on the comments and discussion. I would open it up then for a second.
Second.
Discussion was done. Some second on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against, I guess.
Okay. Let the record note, it was a unanimous decision. But the objections on the
No, I was opposed.
Opposed.
excuse me. Let the record note, it was 3-1 in our determination, and that shortly after our recess, one of our members had to leave for a dental appointment, and Rich indicated that earlier, that he had to leave around noon, and we appreciate his service. But the record now will stand as a vote of 3-1, indicating that the waiver, it will not be considered, as these objection forms are incomplete, and the objections are actually going to be dropped as not being accurate and complete. The board will not consider them. And I'm sure that the attorney for the taxpayer is here today. It's not the outcome you were expecting, but as I said, we are not going to have to do the work of the taxpayer's representative. They should have come in prepared, as they should have last year, and we screwed up last year. We didn't catch that. So therefore, these objections have now been dismissed. The clerk will then send a notice to the taxpayer's representatives indicating that these appeals have been dismissed and your course of action if you so determined to continue the appeal process.
Proceeding with 6A, or are we skipping 6C?
Well, six A is part of the appeals that have been denied.
Correct. According to my notes, 6A was included in the motion to deny the appeal based on incomplete forms and not being considered, with Ryerson voting no.
6A is Park
6C.
Bank.
I'm sorry, 6C.
But I thought we had to review subpoenas. 6C stuff.
So the next item on the agenda is 6A, Park Bank, parcel number 0609 2158-0 and 0609-031-216907, property address 1801 Greenway Cross. This Objection has been withdrawn as of yesterday, for the record.
As the clerk has just indicated, the Park Bank appeal has been withdrawn. So item 6A can be eliminated. I did have a note at that and put it on the far side, I didn't see it. So we're moving to 6B, which is All Soccer Inline Hockey LLC. Agent is Chad Zesnaski. Are you here, sir?
He's the same agent for Park Bank, and that was we were unclear. Tracy can explain.
So when I received the email yesterday, I received 2 identical emails for Park Bank to be withdrawn. I reached out via email for clarification on if the second one was meant to be changed to say all soccer. I called 2 different phone numbers that I had for the agent listed. I have not had any communication back as of now. So, and they did submit a request for waiver for all soccer, but again, I don't have clarification on whether or not the identical emails sent for Park Bank, one was supposed to be for all soccer or not. So.
And Mike, I also reached out late last night at 8:30, and I called Chad's cell phone, got no response. And I also reached out to his assistant, Stacy, this morning and left a message letting them know we were unclear. And that board was starting in approximately 20 minutes, so. And I can go check my emails or my messages if you would like me to.
At this point, I don't know if we need to do that. And that if they were going to show, they certainly would have had the representative here, or should have, to make sure that their rights were protected.
Do we need to ask Fact TV if anyone is waiting, just to verify? No? Okay, we're getting a head shake of no one's waiting on Zoom.
Oh, thank you for that. I hadn't thought about possibly online. Well, we have an appeal in front of us, agenda item 6B, all soccer inline hockey. And with the communication we've had, we're not sure if it was to be withdrawn or if there was some other action to be taken. With nobody showing, I would be of the opinion that their intent was to withdraw the appeal and just sent inappropriate communication to make that happen.
Well, if they didn't withdraw the appeal and they didn't show, would we just decide summarily to sustain the assessment?
Yes.
So,
Since we don't have anything in writing, we would still have to handle the assessment to make sure there was a record of action.
I move to sustain the assessment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, since no one is here to present evidence, that the assessment be sustained as presented by the assessor. The assessed value of $2,102,800 for the parcel number 0609-082-0038-8, known as All Soccer Inline Hockey LLC. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Let the record note, we have a unanimous decision that the assessment be sustained at the current value for the year 2021. Next item on the agenda is item 6D. D is Realty Income Corporation, which also includes actually 5 parcels.
I have a question regarding the review of subpoenas process. Are we supposed to be reviewing whether or not subpoenas are to be issued, or what is our role there? Or are we just reviewing these as though they were a request for waivers?
Right now, we're just doing the request for waiver. The subpoenas will come up after we finish this,
Got it.
and that those were requested by the assessor at our last meeting. And she's going to tell us what came back and what didn't. So 6D is AMC Theaters. There are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so there's 5 objections to multiple parcels. Their authorized agent had submitted the objection and asked for a waiver, which is a continuation of the appeals that have been going on in prior years in the circuit court, appeals of prior board of review determinations. And at this point, I see no reason why our waiver cannot be granted for these 5 parcels. We've done it in the past. I would make a motion, we grant the waiver as requested by the parcels submitted by Realty Income Corporation, parcels 0609-071-1005-8 and 0609-071-091-4. Second parcel, or second objection form listing parcel 0609-071-075-6. Next parcel 069071-0150-4. Next parcel 0609-071-0225-4. As a continuation of prior year's appeals, we can certainly provide a waiver to let this continue in the circuit court. Everybody's okay with it?
Yeah.
Yes, the assessor has no objections. We did receive the subpoenaed information, and I know the representatives are here today.
Okay. Hearing that, I'll make a motion that we accept the information as presented and that the waiver be granted, that the case continue in circuit court.
Motion seconded.
We have a motion that's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Please let the record note it was a unanimous decision. This case can continue on the next level of appeal. Next case requesting, or next property appealing, requesting a waiver is Artisan Village LLC. It's agenda item 6E, 2845 Oregon Road, Unit E, parcel number 0609-012-8605-2. Is a representative here for them? Yes. And please come up.
Eric, why don't you come down to the table?
Good afternoon.
Mike, this Artisan Village, this you may want to swear us in before.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming today. I understand you're asking for a waiver. We have to ask a few questions to make sure if we're going to grant it. Since you'll be on the record, we're asking the clerk to swear everybody in so that if it does continue, that we have that base covered.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you shall give in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And this you do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do, yes.
I do, Amy Mercer.
Please state your name.
Eric Hatchell, Foley and Lardner.
Okay.
Mike, this is a little different.
They all are a little different, Amy. You know that.
This property is actually a Section 42 housing property. And we did request subpoenaed information. And we didn't receive all of it due to some family matters on both attorneys' things like that, touching base and that. So I believe we would both request of the board to give an extension and that the board would consider reconvening at a later date so that we can receive this additional information so that we could then create a stipulation to set that value between the two parties and avoid going on to circuit court and waiving it directly to circuit court would be our hope. Section 42 housing is very specific in how that valuation needs to occur. And I believe it was some communication understanding between the actual property owner before the attorney was involved in what the property owner provided to the assessor with how we set that value. And so we would, ideally, I would like to get that information so we can put that, review that information and see if an adjustment needs to be applied to that property based on that information that we subpoenaed. And Eric, you may have better language than I do
I agree
when it
with
comes to attorney.
That was well said.
My question is the attorney representing the property owner is, how did you determine this $5,259,359 value?
Using the methodology required by Wisconsin law, Section 42 properties must be assessed based on actual income and expense using an appropriate cap rate. This is the first year of the property, so we looked at a stabilized value based on budgeted information, applied appropriate cap rate, and came to that value.
And what was your appropriate cap rate?
I believe the base cap rate, non-loaded, I want to say was around 8%. I'd have to find it. I'm pretty sure it was 8%.
But it was developed based on the court case that established the valuation of subsidized housing,
Regency West, yes. Case I litigated.
taking that base rate and adding in actual information based on actual income and expenses?
Correct. And again, the first year is a little difficult because we don't have actual income and expenses. But we have a good dialogue going with the city. I talked to the city attorney yesterday. I personally had a baby last week, our third child. So there was just a little bit of a delay. I first got responses that there may be an issue with the information or just questions about the subpoenaed information late Tuesday night. I talked with Attorney Seibel yesterday, and that's the genesis of our joint request here today.
Well, congratulations on being a new father.
Thank you. It's been
I'm
been busy.
surprised you're still awake and walking.
A couple cups of coffee, gets me going.
Well, based on the information we've heard, do we want to grant the waiver request? Which would mean the board would have to, I guess the board would have to delay the waiver and reconvene at a later date. Matt doesn't care because he's moving to Village of Oregon.
Yeah, I
And we
wonder if
truly
could
are
make-
hoping that we can, look at the actual expenses, income projected out. The property also, part of the problem with this property is the Artisan Village, one parcel's in the city of Fitchburg and one is in the town of Madison. So a lot of those expenses, incomes are included in one document, so we need to be able to have that time to break those items out to the appropriate jurisdiction and make sure that value is coming in appropriately.
My suggestion would be to value the whole complex and do it on a percentage basis. Otherwise, you'll never get it figured out.
I'm pretty good at doing those splits when we gotta split things out for tax bills, so I kind of am looking forward to this one.
I never look forward to whether it's a 515 or Section 42, never look forward to them. Well,
I move to grant the, what would you call it, extension? Barring additional information to be received within a timely manner. Can we set a time limit on this so that,
Well, we'd actually be reconvening the board on a later date.
right?
And Tracy
So
had,
that's part of item number, if that's something you're gonna do, I would just make a motion to grant an extension to a later date. And then when we get farther into the agenda on item number 8,
Okay.
that we can discuss dates then.
Yeah, I move to grant the extension.
well, I think in Fitchburg, we want our assessments to be as accurate and well-developed as possible so that everybody feels that the assessment is equitable. So I think that's a logical option, is that we follow our clerk's advice and delay this for consideration to a later date and move it from our agenda to a agenda. Pardon me?
Are you seconding my motion?
I'm seconding Erica's motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Good luck on working it out, and hopefully we'll reconvene on a date that works for all parties involved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving ahead on the agenda, item 7, subpoenas requested, objections withdrawn. These are listed on the agenda for just transparency reasons. They were listed on the June 7th agenda as subpoenas being requested for additional information. Since that time, the objections have been withdrawn. So this is just to show that these objections were on a previous agenda and now they're being withdrawn. So no action is needed on item 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D, 7E of the agenda. I'm sorry, 7F and 7G of the agenda. So now you can go on to item 8, where you can have discussion on dates to meet for the extended.
Just like we did on Park Bank, I'd like to read into the record the parcels, the names of the parcels or appeals that have submitted withdrawals. Agenda item 7 are objection withdrawals. First one is from Fred-Fitchburg Retail LLC, 2945 Fish Hatchery Road, parcel number 0609-031-5567-9. Agenda item 7B, also Fred-Fitchburg Retail LLC, 2981 Fish Hatchery Road, parcel number 0609-031-5517-2. Agenda item 7C, Franklin Square Condominiums LLC, 2001, Greenway Cross, parcel numbers 0609-031-2273-0, 2004 Greenway Cross, 0609-031-2086-7. Agenda item 7D, Fahey Fields Apartments LLC, 5345 Noble Drive, parcel number 0609-151-5362-2. 7E, multiple parcels, Fahey Field Apartments LLC, 5359 Noble Drive, parcel number 0609-151-5468-2, 2600 Smoky Trail, 0609-151-5101-2, 2591 Bob's Drive, parcel number 0609-151-5269-2, 2306 Bob's Drive, parcel number 0609-151-5259-2. Agenda item 7F, Hatchery Hill 3 LLC, 5550 Cadiz Bend, parcel numbers 0609-033-4191-3, 2918 Cahill, Maine, parcel number 0609-03342-26-1. Agenda item 7G, Fred Elon LLC, 6311 Quarry Vista Drive, parcel number 0609-182-2505-2. All parcels under agenda item 7, A through G, have been withdrawn and noted in the record. We can now move to agenda item 8, consideration of new business and possibly scheduling a later date for our Artisan Village review.
So some of the dates that are optional would be, one would be Tuesday, August 17th. And let me verify with Fact TV that this room would be open on that date at 9 a.m. If that works for everyone.
I could do the 17th.
I can do the 17th, Matt cannot, if I understand correctly. Okay,
Not sure about Rich, but we have a quorum with the three of you. Is the date available? 9 a.m.? So that is, this room is available for that date and that time.
okay, let's schedule the reconvening the Board of Review, August 17th at 9 a.m. in the morning in the City Hall Council Chambers at Fitchburg City Hall.
And so is this a tentative schedule pending, you know, if you guys work out a resolution? Or
So what it should be very short, well, depending on what the board decides, I guess. If we work out these values, then we would come forward, similar to last year, with a stipulated value, asking the board, that's agreed upon between both parties, asking the board to accept that value. Then what we typically request as part of that stipulation would say that they also have that right to still waive that into circuit court as part of that. So it would hopefully be a very short, I would guess a 15-minute meeting would be my hope. Unless the board decides on that day that they want to hear the whole case and for some reason we can't come up with a stipulation, then it would be, you know, potentially you want to hear it, then it's an hour. Or if you just choose to waive it, then you can choose to waive it.
okay.
I'm hoping for a short day, so we can close this up for the year 2021.
Correct.
So at this point, we have the scheduled date and time to reconvene the Board of Review. That takes us to item 9 on the agenda.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't have a second on that date.
Oh, you
and
don't?
time. No, I just have your motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I probably missed it, I'm sorry.
Better safe than sorry. So we have a second to reconvene the Board of Review on August 17th at 9 a.m. in the City Council chambers to handle the Artisan Village appeal and anything else that comes before the board. And the motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much. We now have a date scheduled. That allows us to move to item 9 on the agenda, which says adjournment. I will ascertain a motion to adjourn, well,
12:45?
yeah,
12:46?
12:46, to adjourn the board so that we can call the day complete. I have such a motion
So moved.
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Boy, I don't know, I want to stay. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.